All right, so I literally just got done recording my SROS channel reaction and breakdown to the Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Utah Jazz trade. And then we just get this trade as well coming in that I was like, all right, I'm probably not going to do a video on my SROS channel. I just made a video unless like something insane happens. So I want to talk about it here, guys, on the extra SROS channel. This is a very interesting trade for a couple different reasons. So Shams reports, just him, Chicago, Minnesota, and Detroit have agreed to a multi-team deal that sends Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley, love that it's a junior, I feel like I haven't heard somebody call him Mike Conley Jr. in a minute, to the Bulls, Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric to the Pistons, and Detroit is also receiving a 2026 protected pick swap from Minnesota. I assume the protection would be like if Minnesota ends up in the lottery. If hopefully maybe we get that information while I'm making this video, because Minnesota right now, they're projected the 23rd overall pick. If you remember last year when like Memphis salary dumped Marcus Smart to Washington, there was a lot of protection on that pick, but they actually won the playing tournament to give them like the 15th overall pick. So that was interesting, or the 16th overall pick or something like that. So I'm assuming it's going to be something like that. Detroit technically moves up 6 spots today in the draft order. Who knows how Detroit's going to look in the second half of the season. And Chicago already reroutes Dario Saric to the Pistons. First off, I think this trade has larger implications for Minnesota and possibly Detroit. I love this for Chicago. This could also mean Chicago is trading away Kobe White, Ayodele. I think this is what bad teams, rebuilding teams should do. You take a chance on maybe a distraught young asset like Jaden Ivey, who's never looked the same so far this year since coming back from his injury, and Duncan Robinson's playing more. Dennis Jenkins has been playing more. They have Asar Thompson and Ron Holland as well, all around Cade Cunningham. Jaden Ivey's in year number 4. It sucks too because he was never perfect in his first 2 years, a part of some really bad Detroit teams, and last year he was having the best play of his career in 30 games. He was shooting 46 from the field, 40% from 3, 17.5 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and then suffers a serious lower body injury. There's a setback going into this year, and it felt like, or it still feels like, he's never been able to build up that consistency again, because one, even if he feels like he's looking better out there, he hasn't had consistent playing time, consistent touches, consistent shots, because hey, JB Bickerstaff like needs to play the best guys out there, the most healthy guys out there. Detroit's the 1 seed in the NBA, or excuse me, in the Eastern Conference. So he's only started 2 games this year. He's averaging 17 minutes a night, only 6.7 shots per game, basically cut in half from last year. The athleticism looks like it's not all the way back. He's 23 years old. I think it's just worth it, right? Like if Ivy can achieve what he looked like last year, it is well worth for Chicago to take a chance on somebody like Jaden Ivey. And there's always been shooting concerns with Jaden Ivey. There's always been defensive concerns, positional concerns with Jaden Ivey. But for a team like Chicago, who should be losing games in the second half, they need to get lapped by Atlanta and Charlotte. This is what's best for them. I like them taking a chance on Jaden Ivey, because when you look at like their young core as well, like they don't have that many intriguing pieces under the age of like, we'll say 25 and younger, honestly. So you have Patrick Williams' bad contract, Josh Giddey, good piece, Matas Buzelis, good piece. Who knows about Essengay? I'm not really holding out on Bakwan, who was a second rounder last year. Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry's played a little bit more as of late. 3-point shot looks a little bit better over the last few weeks. This is exactly what Chicago should do. And they're going to get his restricted rights at the end of the year, as Jaden Ivey is a restricted free agent because he's in that 2022 draft class. And Chicago can either, one, do what like Quentin Grimes, Cam Thomas got, qualifying offer. They can do what the Warriors did with Kuminga, which basically eliminates a no trade clause, gives them a little bit of a pay raise, in which they should. Look at all this expiring money off the books. They have $40 million between Vucevic and Collins. They have well, now they have Ivy on the shelf here. They sent out Huerter $17 million. They have Kobe White's expiring. They have Dosunmu's expiring, and they should look to move those assets at the deadline as well. So I love this for Chicago. I hope we get to see him start. If they don't trade away Kobe White and Dosunmu, he's probably not going to start in the second half, which I guess we'll keep an eye on and how Chicago looks. Like, when are they fully going to fall off a cliff? Or I say that, but like, when do they ever fall off a cliff? Because they need to really maximize their chances at getting a good pick. Right now, they're at 14. This is the worst spot for Chicago to be. But I like them getting involved in the Dario Saric trade. That was the Hunter trade, right? I think they got like a second round pick in that as well to help facilitate that financially. They help facilitate this trade, obviously. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for me from a Chicago standpoint. I'd rather give Jaden Ivey the qualifying offer, or $12 million next year, than have to pay Kobe White $20 million. I wouldn't mind re-signing Dosunmu. I would probably honestly keep him over Kobe. But if some team's willing to give you a good like pick for Dosunmu, I'm doing that here. And we're just getting all the trades come in. Like, let's freaking go, man. Like Jaren Jackson Jr., then we get this 3-team deal. So we'll talk about this for Detroit next because Minnesota will get a little conspiracy theory. Detroit ends up sending out Jaden Ivey. They get to swap with Minnesota, and Dario Saric and Kevin Huerter are going to the Pistons, who had a little bit of financial wiggle room as well in this deal, which I wonder why they ended up getting Kevin Huerter. I'm just like also triple checking that this is like the exact trade. Yeah. Because it's weird because Minnesota is actually getting like no player in this deal, which once again we'll get to in a second. But Detroit, so they add Kevin Huerter, they add Mike Conley, and they end up adding, which I kind of like for that. Oh, wait, no, Mike Conley's going to the Bulls. So Mike Conley's probably going to get bought out. I don't know what team would really want Mike Conley. I should have mentioned that for them as well. I'm going to hope they buy out Mike Conley. I mean, Mike Conley's just a good veteran to have in the locker room. I'll take him on my Knicks for a minimum. But if you're good at, like, that's if you can't get anybody else in the buyout market. Who knows? Maybe they keep him to help be a mentor for Jaden Ivey. I think he's a good veteran to have. Honestly, if you're not going to play Mike Conley good, I don't think he can really play out there anymore. So Detroit adds Kevin Huerter in this deal and Dario Saric and that swap. So yeah, you're going to assume that they're going to finish with a better record than Minnesota. It's not a guarantee because like they're 36-12. Minnesota is 31-20. So they're not that far apart right now. And who knows where things can happen when we get to the playoffs. So, hey, they might move them up 4 spots on draft night, 5 spots. You consider that a win. I assume Detroit thought they weren't going to be able to extend Jaden Ivey at the end of the year. And maybe they wanted to do right by Jaden Ivey and send him to Detroit, to Chicago. Now they can convert Dennis Jenkins to a full standard contract, who's just been better than Ivey this year. Is that a little bit risky? Yes. But what a Dennis Jenkins extension would look like would be like $3 million a year. Jaden Ivey maybe wants like $18 million a year. Who knows going forward? So, yeah. So they're going to probably convert Dennis Jenkins. You get Kevin Huerter, which is now a carbon copy a little bit of like Duncan Robinson, and you have Karis LeVert. I don't know if there's a need for all these like one-dimensional guards in a way. LeVert's a little bit more dimensional as like a ball handler, but he's also not been good. I mean, I think it was like Hunter something. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher his last name. Patterson or something. I think is the Athletic beat reporter for Detroit, mentioned that they're not really going to make any moves at the deadline. Already, I guess, technically wrong. So it makes me think, like, would they reroute Karis LeVert somewhere else for like an Ayo or something like that? Well, I guess probably not a Chicago trade, but would they reroute Karis LeVert somewhere else, Duncan Robinson somewhere else as well? Do they get in the James Harden sweepstakes? I talked about that on a video earlier today where I talked about every single James Harden trade idea, and I was like, it's probably not going to happen, but hey, James Harden to Detroit, I don't think they should do that, but it's out there financially. So yeah, I guess this is just like, we're going to do right by you, Jaden Ivey. We get Kevin Huerter and Dario Saric. I assume they're going to waive Dario Saric and they're going to convert Dennis Jenkins to a full-time contract. It's a little bit head-scratching for Detroit in a way. Like, I just wouldn't have given up on that Ivy asset. I think I'd rather just like match it at the end of the offseason, or you bring him back on a qualifying offer, or sign and trade. I just think they gave up a little bit too quickly on it, too soon. Maybe there's another deal and I'll look a little bit, not foolish, but yeah, this is just kind of my initial reaction. As for Minnesota, they get off Mike Conley, just like that. They basically free up $10 million, which I guess like completely lowers their cap sheet. And now everyone's like speculating, is Giannis potentially on the move? Because yes, they had to free up the Conley contract, which I guess eliminates them from maybe like a Kobe White trade or anything like that. I guess they're also able to create a $10 million trade exception in this deal. Do we think Giannis is going to happen, right? Because now you're combining Randall, McDaniels, Reed, DiVincenzo, 3 to 4 of those guys, Dillingham maybe, Berenger maybe, in a Giannis trade. They really can't move too much draft capital from the Gobert and Dillingham trades, so they can't really move. They can trade a 2028 swap. They could trade a swap on a swap in some of these years, and their 2032 pick is frozen. So they really can't trade any draft capital. Maybe Minnesota's coming around on something like that. Maybe they pivot to somebody else as well. So yeah, this is interesting for Minnesota. You have to think that there's maybe another deal coming for them, because I just watched their bench score 13 points against the Memphis Grizzlies on Monday night, and I'm just like, we need to add another guard to this team. I'd assume if Chicago and Minnesota were in a deal with each other, Kobe White or Dosunmu was going to Minnesota. And clearly, if one of those guys was not in this deal, unless there's like a complication they're trying to get around, I don't think they're getting Kobe White or Dosunmu. I thought they would have been a Dennis Schroeder trade. And now a lot of like the point guards are like thinning on the market in a way, because Schroeder got traded. I guess this rolls them out of like obviously Ivy and Dosunmu and Kobe White. Are they going to be like a Jose Alvarado team? Are they going to be a James Harden team? For all I know, maybe they're trying to free up some room there, because this definitely gives them a little bit. This gives them about $2.5 million of wiggle room under the first apron. So as long as they're not taking back $2.5 million more of what they're sending out, they won't be hard capped at the first apron, which is just a word you're going to have to hear a lot now. So yeah, I guess Chicago, I think, takes a chance on Jaden Ivey, which I love for them. Detroit, a little bit weird. I guess they really don't think that they were going to be able to re-sign him, but I don't know. Like, who's giving Jaden Ivey a bag in the offseason? I don't think Kevin Huerter helps you in a playoff series any more than Ivy would. I know he's a good shooter, but Shams mentions here the Bulls and the Pistons have desires met here in a young and veteran guard to Chicago. A sharpshooter goes to Detroit. Minnesota creates significant tax savings and roster space as they pursue a Milwaukee star this week. All right, so maybe this is going to mean like Giannis could end up being a Minnesota Timberwolves. So they're serious about doing it. Sharpshooter shooting 31% from three. I know Kevin Huerter's been a good career three-point shooter, but he hasn't been that this year. He hasn't really been like amazing in a full season since like 2023. Like even 2024 is a down year. If you're a three-point shooting specialist, like 36%, you wish it's a little bit better. So yeah, I would love to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this trade as well. I don't know. We're building up to a really interesting trade deadline for sure, especially if Shams is dropping hints like that. Even though he said a whole lot of nothing, it feels like yes, Giannis is available. Teams are trying to get Giannis. I just want to know when Giannis actually gets traded. I'm kind of done with this like dilly-dallying around it. So yeah, would love to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this trade down below as well. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.